Welcome to part 6 of the Gravity Colors MP4-30 McLaren Ebbro kit in 1/20th scale project. And as you can see, I've gone quite a ways with this now, and gotten all the decals on it. And there's a nice close-up of the finish so far. Obviously it needs clear. Looks kind of cool just in matte finish too. Too bad the car never ran like that, but it is kind of neat. So basically the decals went on flawlessly. I believe they're Cartograph, and they were just beautiful decals. And I did add the supplemental alcohol taboo sheet for the Johnny Walker. So basically this car is going to represent the car as it ran at Monaco in 2015, with Fernando Alonso, of course, as the driver. Tough luck that guy's having this year. Anyways, we don't need to get into that. So what I'm ready to do now is clear coat the car. I've taken all the pieces, besides the body. They're sitting up here, they're out of the way in the camera, but the front wing, as you can see, that's ready to be done as well. And I'm ready to clear coat this thing. Now what I've done is I've washed all the parts with a Dawn dish detergent to take any kind of oils or any kind of contaminants off it, so I don't get any kind of fish eyes. For you guys out there watching that don't know what a fish eye is, a fish eye is where there's some kind of oil or some kind of contaminant that's on the body, and when you lay down the 2-part urethane clear, even Gravity Colors can do this, what'll happen is it'll leave a little divot in the clear, and it goes right down to the base coat. There's really no way to get rid of it by polishing later, because you'll just burn the clear right off the car trying to get rid of it. What you can do though is, if you do see any pop up or show up, it usually is also a byproduct sometimes of solvent popping that makes it happen. If there's a little bit of moisture in your airbrush line, like water or such, that can make it happen as well. Sometimes they don't show up right away. It'll leave a bubble that you can't see while the clear's leveling, and all of a sudden it'll pop, and all of a sudden it'll be there. If you wait about 15 minutes after you've cleared the car for the final time, keep some of the clear in the airbrush bottle, and what you can do is take a real fine brush, clean one of course, very clean. Make sure it's not something that you've had dipped in silver or metallic or something, because it will come off in the clear and leave a metallic dot. But what you can do is dip it in the airbrush bottle and dab it on those fish eyes, let it level out, and you'll have that area where the fisheye divot is filled with clear. Sometimes you can get if you can put it on in a couple coats and get the divot actually the opposite and have it higher than the actual paint finish, you can polish that down later level and it's like it was never even there. So there are ways to get rid of fish eyes when you got a real nice paint job and then you get a couple fish eyes in the clear. It's always very disheartening when that happens, but I've found that if you just take a real clean brush and you dip the clear that you have left in the airbrush bottle on, and dip it in the brush in there, dip it on and put it on those areas, you'll get those areas to level out and you'll have a successful paint job, especially later when you polish it. I will be covering polishing the clear in my next video. So this one is all about clear coating. So what I'm going to do now is I've got everything prepped. I'm going to go out into the spray booth next and get ready to clear coat the car. And with the clear coat, I'm going to be using my Badger 150. The reason why, it's siphon fed. It's got a big bottle here. And that way there I can do my clear coating in one session and not have to stop using one of my gravity fed like the Infinity that I have. I love the airbrush, don't get me wrong, but this one here, I'm able to put more clear into this bottle and get my clear coat session done in one shot and not have to stop and mix some more clear to dump in that little cup that's on the top of the Infinity. Or I've also got another airbrush that I use, a Spar Max. It's the same way, it's gravity fed. Those are my detail brushes. They're my base coat brushes, detail brushes for fine detailing and such like that. But for overall, I like to use my 150. Still dual action, still a fine needle. I should say a medium needle I have in this one, but it's siphon fed instead of gravity fed, and I can put a lot more clear in this bottle so that I can do my clearing in one session and not have to worry about having to stop to mix clear. Nothing's worse than being in the middle of doing clear and you run out. It's not like the base coats. The stuff, if you run out, you got to stop, you got to remix it, and then you got to spray, and then that clear is already starting to set up, so you're kind of starting all over again. So I'll explain to you out in the spray booth how I spray this. So I will see you in a few minutes. Okay, so here we are out in the spray booth. Just so you know, I mixed this clear up, the gravity clear, in my 150, and I mixed it 3 parts clear, 1 part hardener, or activator as they call it, and 1 part thinner. You need to thin their clear because it needs to be thinned according to the instructions on the bottles. Now again, I'm at 25 psi on the air, and I'm going to put a nice light coat. I've tack ragged this, or tacked it, so I got all the dust off it. You can never tack it enough, of course. And I'm going to begin spraying. Now I'm going to lay down a nice light coat. I'm going to bring this back a little bit. I'm going to lay down a nice light coat of clear, like the coat that bites into the base coat, basically. Basically so I can get a nice even coverage, but I'm not concentrating on finish with this coat. I'll put a light coat on this, wait about 10 to 15 minutes for it to tack up, and then I'll put another heavier coat on, concentrating more on coverage. And in my third coat, I will actually thin this out a little bit with a little bit more of the thinner, and it flows out a lot nicer, and that final coat will be like glass. The key is not to put it on too heavy too quick, because it can run on you, or it can well up in some of the areas. So I'm going to begin now. You want to get some shine out of it, but you're not concentrate on caking it on. You're just looking for coverage, but yet you do want to get a little bit of a nice gloss to it, but not a smooth gloss at first. Just looking to get an overall good coat of clear on the entire car. But again, I'm using a dual action airbrush so I don't blast it on. My second coat, I will put it on heavier and concentrate a little slower in areas, get better coverage, and level it out a little bit more. Right now I just want to get a nice good biting coat of clear on the car to start with. You can already see though that this beautiful gray graphite color from Gravity Colors is starting to change into a different form. It's beautiful. You can put it on a little heavier in some of the nooks and cranny areas, because that way there you don't have to worry about them so much on the second coat or third coat, so you can get an actual final gloss and not worry about all the little nooks and crannies on the car. Wow, this thing is popping. The other reason I put on a lighter coat, because you just never know what's going to happen with the clear over decals. Sometimes it's perfectly fine. I've never really had much of a problem with 2-part urethane clear over decals. It's not as hot as lacquer clears, but you never know what could happen. So putting on a lighter coat serves as a protective barrier when you put on the other heavier coats of the clear. Because you are putting some reducer or some hot paint inside the bottle. And you got to make sure that doesn't attack your decals. So a lighter coat of clear at first will give it a good solid base. Look at that thing. It's gorgeous. It's already looking really cool. But it'll give you a nice solid base. And once it sets up, it protects the decals from the heavier coats of clear. I'm gonna let this set up about 15 minutes and we'll come out and hit it with another coat. Okay, I've waited about 15 minutes. It's time for coat number 2. Now, coat number 2 is gonna be put on a little heavier. I want to get more coverage and smooth it out a little bit more and get more of a buildup of the clear on there, but not too thick, where it'll start welling up in areas and causing problems, or if at worst case, running. 2-part clear is a little thicker to some of the lacquers out there. It's a lot less work though to get a beautiful finish with this paint, and that's why I love it the most. So here we go again. Going a little heavier this time, because I want this finish to be really nice and smooth. I'm also concentrating more on the areas that I might have missed last time a little bit, making sure I get them. Nice and smooth. Slowing down in some areas so that I can get a good finish. Remember, on your second coat, don't be afraid to lay it on. You have to. You want to get a nice, smooth, even coverage on this. You don't want to slow down too much though. If you do, you better regulate your flow of paint so that you don't build up too much and it runs on you. But you can already see this is starting to really take on its own identity here with this paint. Really nice stuff, this gravity clear. What I love about it is, for the most part, it stays exactly the way you lay it on. It doesn't shrink up on you. What I love about a gravity-fed, a siphon-fed airbrush dual action is you can start feathering this in and it just starts to flow out beautifully. And I'm not using a whole lot of paint, really. Or a lot of clear, I should say. Very forgiving. So, coat number 2 is done. Look at that shine. So again, another 15 minutes. I'm going to add a touch more thinner, just a little bit of thinner to this. And then I'm going to lay on the wet coat. And I'm going to repeat this process for all the parts, just so you know. I'm not going to cover all the parts in this video because you don't really need that. I mean, if you see how I do the body, you know that the other parts are even easier. So I'm going to give this another 15 minutes to set, and I'm going to hit it again. Okay, third coat coming on, guys. And what I've done this time is I've taken the clear and I've thinned it out a little bit more with the Gravity Colors thinner for the clear coat. So now this coat's going to be a little heavier, but yet with that thinner in there, it's going to level out on a nicer. So this is my final coat to make sure I get real even, perfect coverage on it. The smoother you get the clear, the less polishing you'll have to do. You can't help, some trash gets in the clear. There's a couple pieces in a few areas were real minor, but this coat is the final one. So you got to make sure you get all the nooks and crannies and crevices, so you got to look it over really well. So this is going to be a little longer session, and when this is done, I'm going to go clear coat all the other pieces with the same method you've learned on here, and then we'll get back together on part 7, and I'll show you how I polish this body using the Gravity part polishing kit, or Gravity Colors, I'm sorry, polishing kit. So let's get this one over with. I'm really pleased with how it's coming out. Notice I'm putting it on a little heavier this time. I want beautiful coverage here. So I'm making sure I get the back, inside the nozzle, inside the edges of the driver's cockpit area nice. And then I'm going to continue on here. Doing it in the front of the intakes. Make sure I get them nice and heavy, and then doing the sides here. It's a fine, fine touch you gotta have. Make sure you're not laying it down too heavy, but you're making sure you're laying down enough. That's why I love using a dual action airbrush. Look at that. Stuff is wicked because it just levels out as you build it up, and it just turns into this beautiful glass finish. I mean, just amazing clear. Best stuff out there in my opinion. Wouldn't you agree, guys? Let me zoom in on this for you a little bit. Look at that. I hope you guys are as pleased at this as I am. Again, go ahead and do the rest of the parts, and I'll see you in part 7. Thanks for watching.